Right after Pearl Harbor, I thought I was going to be drafted into the Army, and I didn't want to go into the infantry. So I went to New York City to the draft board with another shelter owner whose name was Robert Hawkins. And we walked into the draft board, and he said to us, "I'm sorry, all enlistments have been closed. You have to go home and wait." So I went home, and it wasn't long. I got a letter from Uncle Sam that he needed me.
And how old were you then, Bill?
About 20. We had to go up to what they call Camp Upton. It was just the other side of Riverhead in Calverton, where we got uniforms and equipment, put on a train heading west, and we went all the way to Texas. And we found out that we were going to be a heavy artillery battalion in Camp Maxey, Texas, near the city of Paris, Texas. And that's where we started all our training, right there.
Where was this picture taken?
Camp Maxey, Texas. When we got there, they had no guns for us. So we had to go out into the woods, chop down trees, big branches, lay them on the ground, and go through the whole system to fire these guns. So when we eventually got the guns, even though we trained on pieces of wood, we knew pretty much what we had to do. After we trained, we got put on a ship, Queen Elizabeth, and went to Scotland. And from there, we on trains down into England. And so we were training over there, and sometimes we had to go out to the country of Wales, which was the end of the earth. It was very cold out there, even in the summertime. And from there, we finally got orders to go down to Weymouth, England, and we were going to go over to France. Well, this is money that they used in France. We didn't use American money. It was, that's the way it was. Right after the invasion, on June 6th, we couldn't get in there then because we had these big guns and things, and there wasn't any room. We had to wait for the infantry to push the Germans back, so enough room for us. So that was D-Day plus about 4 weeks, I think, around there. And then we packed up and started moving across the channel. See, my job in the Army was in battalion headquarters. I worked in there with the colonels, majors, warrant officers, and people like that. And so I always had my own driver in the Jeep. Halfway across the channel, the commanding officer of the A battery, who was captain, came up to me and he said, "I'm going to trade vehicles with you and get ashore." And he said, "I want you to go with my driver and my command car, which is like a big SUV." And right away I'm thinking, I bet he's afraid of snipers or something. And like he's a VIP driving in this big car. But it really wasn't that. It was he needed that after we get ashore, he had like 100 people to find out where they're supposed to be and what they had to do next. So that was the reason they wanted to trade vehicles with me. The vehicle I was in, we got off this LST, it's what they call landing ship tank, and got ashore. Always went mile after mile after mile, kept going, and we didn't see a soul. Finally, I said to the driver, "We better stop and talk this over. Something's wrong here." And he agreed. So then we finally thought, well, we couldn't go back, so what are we going to do? We just keep going. So we kept going again. Finally, we saw 2 American soldiers standing on the side of the road. We pulled up to them and told them who we were, and they said, "You're on the wrong side of the peninsula. You have to be completely across the peninsula." And he told us how to get there. So we got up and we drove across the peninsula. Finally, we saw a small pickup truck. It was parked right up against the hedgerow. The driver stopped there and he says, "Well, we're at headquarters now. You can get out, take your gear, and you can get out here." So I got out, and then that guy says to me, "I have to go find the captain," puts the car in gear and took off. I mean, I'm standing here, middle of the night, in Normandy, don't know where I am or where anybody is. Can you imagine that? That was really scary. Right after that, I heard an airplane come over, and it was right above the treetops, very, very low, and then took off. I said, I'm just going to hang out here because I don't want to get my butt shot off. So a little while after that, here he comes back again. But this time, he was dropping what they call flares out of the airplane. It looked like a long plank that had all these little lights on it. And when they lit up, the whole area was as bright as some daylight, or even brighter maybe. He took off, so I said, he might have spotted me. So I ran over, right in front of the little pickup truck, somebody had dug a large foxhole. It's about 6 foot long, and a couple feet deep. So I went over there, took my rifle, and jumped in that foxhole. And I waited, and pretty soon I heard him coming back again for the 3rd time. He opened up all the machine guns on the plane. All the bullets went right through the passenger side window of that pickup truck, out through the windshield, and about this far above my foxhole. And I'm laying down there, and these bullets are missing me this close. Boy, it was really scary. And then all of a sudden, on the other side of the hedgerow, a bunch of planes came over, started dropping bombs. And they were hitting, it was one of the batteries of the 731st, and the bombs were hitting the ammunition trucks and the guns and everything. Like they said in that book there, all hell broke loose. And some of the guys did a great job. When the planes left, they would get out of the foxholes, disconnect the burning vehicles from the good ones that weren't hurt yet, and they saved a lot of vehicles. And finally everything quieted down, and so I waited till morning. I climbed over the hedgerow, and I saw my own people on the other side of that, and I found out that my battery wasn't there. They were in another position. So when I went over there, I found out that they were bombed that night too. 3 of the men from my battery were manning a machine gun. And a German plane spotted them, dropped the bomb on them. One of the men that was at that gun got blown completely into 2 pieces. Cut him right in half. And another one got killed. And the 3rd man got a little piece of shrapnel in his hand. That's only 2 dead and 1 alive. That was about the only dead people at that night. That was a scary night. Back over to the headquarters the next morning, I had to tell one of the people that I was working with that one of the people who got killed by that bomb was his cousin. And that was a pretty unpleasant situation. We were going across France in what they call the Rhone Valley campaign. And it was the biggest tank battles of the war there. And so the captain called me into the office and he says, "I'm going to reassign you." I says, "To what?" He says, "I'm going to give your assistant your job, and you're going to be in charge of all the machine gun crews. There were 6 crews, 18 men. I said, Captain, I never fired a machine gun in my life. He's sitting there like he was studying me. Now finally he says, you can handle it. And that was the end of that. So I'm chief of the machine gun crews. And they were always picking me for something. To get to the Battle of Bulge, all of a sudden we got orders to move. We're heading north. And we traveled day and night. You couldn't stop to eat or anything, just to refuel the vehicles. And so on little American ingenuity, we're riding in these Caterpillar tractors. We had these canned rations. So we'd take a piece of wire, tie it around the can, and the big engines in there, they came out of the side of the vehicle, up over the roof, and ended up on the other side of it. So we'd taken the wire on the cans, throw the can down in the muffler, and every once in a while you pull it out, and if you see the can starting to bulge, you know the food's hot. And so that's how we ate on the way up there. To fire one of those big guns, it's a pretty tricky job. You have to have a handle where you pull down on it and you open this door that's in the butt of the gun, and then a 96-pound shell is brought up there on what they call loading tray. The shell is here, and one man on each side holds it up, and 2 other people have a long pole, and they slam it in, because the shell has a copper band on it, and when it goes in and it turns like that in the rifling in there, the copper is soft, so it'll hold the shell in so that when you raise it up it won't come tumbling back out. And that's the way you used to fire that. So anyway, while I was there, we got a fire mission, and the people who the guy who picked up the telephone said we got a counterattack. So I took over the firing. It wasn't even my gun, and they loaded it up, and all of a sudden the command came, fire. And what they have, we call a lanyard, is a small rope about this long with a wood ball on the end, so that when you yank that thing, it won't slide through your hand, you know. And so I pulled it like that when they said fire, and nothing happened. So we pull it and you let go, because otherwise that rope would drag you back when I recoil. And next thing I know, I reached down to like this to pull it, and I woke up in a hospital in England. A friend of mine one time was a colonel in similar type outfit, and he says, I know a lot of people who had the same situation, and you're the only one I know that ever came out alive. So I had a skull fracture, concussion, lost all the hair in this ear, part in that ear. I got all those medals up there. I got I got 2 Purple Hearts. The Battle of the Bulge, that's where I got hurt up there. And the other one's up in central France. All these trucks were going by, and you could see in one truck a whole bunch of Germans in it, and then you could see another truck looked like logs, and you know the brown uniforms of the Americans and all just stacked in like cordwood in there going down the road. General Eisenhower made a statement he said there at this battle, there are so many dead bodies laying there that you don't have to step on the ground if you want to walk. You can use bodies as stepping stones. There were so many bodies in the road, the tank drivers and the truck drivers had to keep stopping, getting out, lifting the bodies out of the road so they could keep going. Hard to believe, isn't it?
And that was the end of your war years?
Yeah, more or less, but I ended up in a hospital in Pennsylvania called the Shawn General Hospital. in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I spent quite a few months over there before they discharged me. Once in a while, I'll wake up in the morning or something, and I'll just be thinking about something, and it comes on to me. It's not good, Seen too many bad things.
And then you came back to Shelter Island?
They discharged me, so I just came home. And then I didn't know what I was going to do, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But my father was an electrician. He had electrical contracting business. So I said, well, why don't I join him? So under the GI Bill, I went to New York City and spent 2 years at an electrical school in New York. That's called Dickerson Creek. Eventually, I end up down here, and I go, wow, this is a place for me. It's on the water, I can see clams. I got a right of way that goes down to the main bay. What could I ask for, better than this? So I think the whole thing, with the first house and everything before I added additions, is about $12,000 total. Now I'm assessed for $1 million something.